there were opportunities that I could have had, whether that was through having savings for an emergency or traveling or just spending money on things that made me happier. But it was almost like a misunderstanding of like what money could be used for, I suppose. And it was like chasing this unattainable goal that was always, it wasn't always clothes. It would have been sometimes diet products. I was always on the hamster wheel of the new cellulite product or makeup. I remember one time I think I spent like $12.99 on eye brightening drops because I'd read in some magazine that they would make me prettier. Like it was a real, like my bank statement was like an artifact of my insecurities, in all honesty. And whether I was spending on those things or not, it was really just, it was almost like a lack of self-respect, because I wasn't thinking about future me. I wasn't thinking about whether I was happy. I was only happy if I was living up to a certain standard or trying to live out some dream life that I'd seen on TV, or trying to skip ahead to the good bit. Like I remember I always used to really want to be in like luxury spaces. Obviously I couldn't afford to be in them, but I was always like looking for deals or ways to like get into nice places that I couldn't necessarily afford to be in. So I'd go somewhere and have like a deal dinner or something to like look like I had money. I think that's maybe like a thing from growing up, like being in that lower middle class pocket, like single parent, single mom.
Yeah.
You sort of try and look like you've got more than you do. Yeah. But as I've got better with money and I've sort of reclaimed my spending decisions and developed my financial perspective, it's more of like a shift in intention and a shift in approach, to the point that I'm like, I'm in control. I feel like I control money now rather than feeling like it controlled me.
Wow, I think that's so impactful. So it wasn't giving confessions of a shopaholic. It was just really just like not, just like kind of feeding in, like you said, to your insecurities through your purchases. And I think a lot of us are guilty of doing that because, retail therapy is real. People do feel better after purchasing these these things, whether it be clothes, skincare, whatever. But it doesn't always last very long. And I think you said something about your future self, and it's so interesting. I recently read a study that said people who make the best spending decisions aren't those with the highest level of financial literacy. It's people who are able to engage in future thinking. And when I read that, I was like, whoa, that blew my mind. Like you're really like you said, like sacrificing the lifestyle or the happiness of your future self for this immediate instant gratification that's not necessarily going to last long.
Yeah, it's I said something to somebody the other day, actually. We were talking about, I was saying, because I'm investing now and that kind of thing, and they said to me, oh, I want to invest. And I was like, girl, I've told you, I will teach you how to invest. Like, come on, we've talked about this. And she was like, oh, but I don't want to compromise. I don't want to give up my lifestyle. And I said, like, quite matter-of-factly, well, you either give it up a little bit now to make a little room for future you, or you give it up later. Like, that's really the fact of the matter. And I wish I could sort of go back and say to younger me, like, you don't have to give up every single aspect of what brings you joy. You just need to, one, interrogate what brings you joy, but also like just do 10% of your energy and your time and your finances for future you, because you either deal with it now or you'll deal with it later. You can't have both. You'll either deal with it now or it will hit you later. And kind of seeing that can help you with that head in the sand kind of mindset. It's a bit brutal. It's a bit of a call out. But having been somebody that needed that call out, if you really want to keep those clothes, I mean, go wild, but you could give up a little bit of them now and have a lot more down the line.
Yeah, I think that's so good. I'm glad to talk about investing. I recently started like investing, but it's really scary. I like to start it, and I feel like a lot of people experience this. I think especially women, like you start looking at all of this investing content, and then you think about like crypto, or should you invest in stocks and shares and this, and I think it can become really like intense and overwhelming. And then you look at the current bills you have now, and like what strategies do you tell people who might just feel like, oh, investing is not for them, or they can't get into it right now?
Yeah, for me, so it was something that I struggled with because I didn't see myself doing that, nobody in my family had invested. Like, nobody talked about that. I didn't understand like really what it was at first. But even when I did understand what it was, and I believe that there is a gap now where, because there is a lot more investing education, I think there are a lot of people that are stuck in that point that I was in. I knew what it was, but I hadn't behaviorally connected to actually doing it. And I think for me, it has come down to engaging with that future a lot more, talking to people that are doing it, or following people that are doing it and that are talking about it. It's a bit difficult over here in Australia now because we're not really allowed to talk about it online, which is difficult because of the like financial advice laws. But there are people in other countries.
Wait. What is that about? You can't talk about it.
No. It's really bad. We're not allowed. You have to have a financial services license.
Is that a recent thing? What's your thoughts on that?
It's complex. It is beneficial in some ways because there are people giving really dangerous advice, but it means that it cuts off, like, especially again, somebody who didn't see themselves as an investor, didn't see other people in like my community investing. It means that we can't open that up to as many people. But luckily, I guess the lifestyle of investing is fairly global. You can follow women in other countries that are investing. There's a lot of people out of the UK, a lot of people in the US that are talking about it. So it's still possible. It's definitely difficult with that distance. But I think for me, it was like inserting myself into that life, getting much more clear on the role of money in my whole life, rather than just like as this immediate means of gratification or survival. That's really how I saw money until really not that long ago. Like, it was a means of spending it when you had it, paying bills if you could, and it would always probably be stressful. Like, that's just what I thought. I wasn't that engaged with doing things for the future. I wasn't that engaged. Very passive with my money. Like, your job is your job, and some people have a good job with a good pension, but I don't, and that's just the way that it is. I didn't ever have that internal locus of control with, okay, well, no, I don't have a huge inheritance coming my way, or I don't have a job that has a great pension, but what can I do to look after myself? Really sort of looking at that, how can I protect myself? How can I create different outcomes for myself? And it's sort of been quite empowering to look at, like, how can I break generational patterns, like not just accepting what's been modeled to me in the past. How can I like break out of that? And it's uncomfortable because we do create a comfort zone in what we're used to, even if that is struggle with money. But it has been like breaking out a lot. Goal setting comes into it a lot. Even like non-money content, really, and like expanding your possibilities of the world, of your career, improving your self-worth, honestly, particularly as women, exploring that is something that we can do, and that there is something different to maybe what we know to be available.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think that's so true for me. Like, there's not a lot of financial literacy in my family, really. I think there was this parted line where it's like, oh, money will come, don't worry. And it's like, well, that that can get us in a bit of trouble, and it has. And I think, especially like you said, when you come from that working class background and you're striving to achieve these great things, and you have a lot of eyes on you as well, and I know people see me on TV and they think, oh, you're rich, and it's like, actually girl, like, that's not necessarily true. But sometimes you feel like, especially you with like your massive audience, you might feel like you need to spend and like project in a way to live up to that image of yourself and live up to that lifestyle. Like, and I think just thinking about your future self, like you said, is just so important. And I think what you're doing and what you're teaching is super beneficial.